Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our second Community of Inquiry Workshop number 2. And I just wanted to welcome also our virtual listeners out there. Today's Thursday, September, Lordy, is January the 26th, and my name is Renee Schmitz. Today our class is going to last about 15 minutes or so, and we're going to discuss or continue our discussion on the community of inquiry and how we incorporate that into our own classes. So on the screen I have my email in case you have any questions at the end or at any time. If you want to email me, I'll be glad to answer anything. And also, when you enter the room, if you would, since this now is a synchronous class, if you would just go ahead and complete the audio setup wizard. It's in the, let me get my little tool here. It is right here up in the, it's actually in the top left portion of your screen. So you can actually click on that, run through the audio setup wizard. If you haven't done that, you might want to do that real quick. Then also when you come in the room, you'll see down here your hand will be up. So at this number 1, you're actually going to see this, but you actually lower it by clicking on the little hand right above your name or in the bar under your name. So it's very important that you do that each time you come in the room. So I'm going to do a quality check real quick, and just to make sure that I have everything set up so that you can see it. If you can see a red record button up there, would you give me a green check? Eugene, I don't know if you'll be able to do that because you're on your mobile, I see. Oh, you are? Awesome. Okay, if you can also give me a green check if you can see the quality check up in the corner. Good. And also give me a green check if you can hear me okay. Great. So before we go any further, we want to actually, if you can, just remove any distractions that you have. Put up a do not disturb sign. Depending on where you're actually at, if you want to let your family know that you're on or in a class, then that way they don't disturb you. Turn your cell phones off, your house phone, whatever, so that we can be distraction-free. And now, if you want to, that we have all of our distractions removed, if you want to take just a minute to clear your minds and take a deep breath and relax. I know it's kind of chilly outside, so I hope you find this picture as relaxing as I did. Okay, let's get started. Our objectives for today are actually upon completion of this virtual classroom, you will be able to name the 3 elements of the community of inquiry, demonstrate a social presence in an online classroom, and demonstrate 3 ways to make an online course more interactive in your field. And first, before we do anything, let's do an icebreaker. What I'd like for you to do is actually go down in the text chat and type in what your favorite food is as well as your least favorite food. I agree, Jason. I had to pick one of many. Okay, Eugene, I think I have the same things you do, because I love chicken, and I think I eat it probably 5 days a week, and I love dessert. I hit Dairy Queen as many times as I can. But on here I have my favorite is actually being pumpkin pie, and my least favorite is mushrooms. and because I don't like them, I had to find a picture that was actually pleasing, because I couldn't even stand the thought of having it on my screen, but oh well. So we'll continue our discussion on the community of inquiry. And, oh, yes, Eugene, I don't like liver so much either. Anyway, let's get with it, with our, oh, I'm sorry, let me back up just a second. For all the virtual students out there, I would like you to actually go post your answers in the discussion forum for this class. That way everyone can see what your favorite food as well as your least favorite foods are. And that way we can all be a part of that. Like I said, we'll start with the communication, or the community of inquiry. And this is actually the diagram that creates the framework. And according to Garrison, Anderson, and Archer, an effective e-learning experience for an effective e-learning experience, there should be one that is purposeful communication that connects students to each other, the teacher, and information being presented in a real-world forum. Collaboration is key in the success of a student's deep cognitive learning in an online program to build that actual community of inquiry. One thing you want to remember and also understand is that each class is different. So what works for one class may not necessarily work for another. This is where the teacher or the facilitator of the course really needs to be very creative and knowledgeable in necessitating an inquisitive student. This graph here actually depicts the, let me get this, the elements, it actually depicts the elements of your community of inquiry. In order to provide a student with an overall engaging and educational experience, we need to have all three elements of the community of inquiry. I'm sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. There must be really a social presence, a cognitive presence, and the teaching presence. They all overlap in creating the theoretical framework of learning, and all encompassing the educational experience itself. So let's talk about this portion right here, which is the social presence. So in Garrison's book of e-learning in the 21st century, he finds that the social presence involves engagement of conversation, a student's ability to be able to identify with a group. And for this to happen, there must be a trusting environment. So where we need to feel concern and respect, and the challenge is actually now found in written text. So for this to happen, we must have well, actually the written text actually lacks immediacy and a closeness that we actually build in conversations whenever, when you're involved in a face-to-face classroom. You walk into a room and you're looking at someone or you're talking to someone, you automatically build that, where in texting, or in the written text, that's hard to do. So each teacher or instructor should really have the responsibility to set a learning climate, enabling a risk-free environment for the student. So here, our verbal engagement enables students to have the ability to develop an acceptance, at the same time being able to reduce possible risk for critical conversations that they may need to have in order to have more of an understanding. So as our students are able to engage a higher level of cognitive learning, this is able to happen. As you can see, we need a bit more with, I should say, as you can see, we actually did it a little bit with our icebreaker. Whenever we were all able to talk about something that we liked and we didn't like, and everything was okay. So let's do a quick question. And so what does social presence look like? I'm going to change the polling for you to, let's see, let's make this A through C. And if you would go ahead and choose the one that you feel most represents a social presence. Is it an untrusting environment or online environment? The student's ability to identify with a group, or how much a student learns. And for those of you the virtual students, I'd like you to do the same thing, only in your Miss Class summary, I'd like you to actually just put a short paragraph about why you chose the answer that you did. And that's right, that's exactly correct. Let's see if I can put that. Yeah. Whoops. I didn't want to do that. Let's take that off of there. Okay, now let's see if we can just grab the, there we go. So we actually, both of you answered B, and that is absolutely correct. You want your students to actually be able to identify with the group, feel like they're a part of that group. So let's clear that off and jump to the next page. So back to the community of inquiry, we're going to actually talk about one second here. Yes, next we're going to talk about is the cognitive presence. I thought I had lost my page there for a second. So we're going to talk about this portion of the community of inquiry now, of the framework. So in Garrison's book, again, E-Learning in the 21st Century, he finds that the social presence involves engagement of conversation, a student's ability to identify as part of the group, and I think I am so sorry. Let me start that over again. So the cognitive presence is the student's ability to critically think. So according to John Dewey's concept of the cognitive presence, it's more about how much a student learns and their ability to be able to critically think. This is where a student is able to develop new ideas and reflect on findings with other learners in a way of gaining a deeper level of knowledge about a given question, an idea, or even a problem. Discourse and reflection lead to the learner being able to critically think. It's basically a higher level of thinking and learning as an outcome. The cognitive presence is set up by a practical inquiry model, and this is a way of being able to develop all of the processes needed to construct an even deeper learning. So let me actually pull in a video that I want to share with you, and that way you can, well, I'll put it in the text chat here. Let me see, let me pull this. I'm sorry, just one second. I'll put it here in the text chat so you can actually see it there. And then we'll also play it here.
So my approach to teaching online really centers on the idea of interactivity. So, and I tend to look at that at three different levels. I look at students interacting with one another, students interacting with the content, and students interacting with me, the instructor. So if I've just designed something that essentially just asks students to interact with a paper or a video and just look at it and think about it.
Okay. You'll want to make sure that you get to watch that whole thing. So our next thing we're going to do is actually, what are the 4 parts of the practical inquiry model? So what I would like for you to do is actually take your pen, and if you would, just X out the what the 4 parts are. Eugene, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. If you're not, that's okay. Maybe you can just put in the text chat what one is not. Excellent. Give yourselves a smiley face for that. Okay, one last time. So this time we're actually going to talk about the teaching presence. So the teaching presence is typically the one that is the most challenging overall in the community of inquiry, especially in an online setting. Here the teacher is ultimately responsible for the development of the material, the design or layout, and how to facilitate the subject matter by knowing the students and their needs or interest levels of the course. They focus on engagement, whether it's high, low, too low. They have to know, or they have to be able to understand which level they're actually at in order to be able to consider all the material, the subject matter, everything being taught in an online environment, as well as what the student knows and what their level is coming in. What are the prerequisites to the class that they know? That the instructor needs to take all that into consideration. As I mentioned before, even at the beginning, the teacher or the facilitator of the course needs to be very creative and knowledgeable in necessitating that inquisitive student. So what I'd like to do now is actually have you guys, if you want, just jump on the mic and tell what you feel might be the most difficult thing in teaching online. And for the virtual students out there, I'd like you to do the same, but just in a short paragraph explaining your answer in your Miss Class summary.
I think teaching online, the most difficult part is keeping people interested, because you can't see their facial expressions to tell if they're bored. So you really have to do a lot more work as the facilitator or the instructor to understand, are they getting it? Do they have any questions? Do they have questions that maybe they're not asking them? So I think that's the hardest part, is keeping people engaged.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I would agree with Jason. I think that would be the hardest part. So, I mean, we must come up with ways to keep them engaged, to keep them focused.
I agree. I actually, in class today, I was actually teaching a face-to-face class today, and I had a student that was, you could see her face and you just knew, and I'm like, Jennifer? And she's like, I don't get it. I'm like, but you don't have that opportunity quite so much in an online setting, so very good. And of course, incorporating the the community of inquiry into your, well, actually not that yet, but the big idea here is not to just place, you know, a face-to-face course in an online medium. As far as my my course that I have, the courses I teach, I actually have an opportunity to, you know, put in the social presence, the teaching presence, and the cognitive presence in areas where I think we're going to be able to excel with our students. Do you agree or feel the same way? If you want, you can just give me a check mark. If you want to jump on the mic, it doesn't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it is, it's really important.
Yes, Eugene.
Sorry, I was just trying to let you know to step away for a second.
Oh, that's okay. So to sort of wrap everything up, we actually did go over the objectives. We were able to name the three, or you should be able to name the three elements of the community of inquiry, which are really your social, teaching, and cognitive presence. You should be able to demonstrate a social presence in an online classroom like we were talking about, and describe 3 ways that you can make your online courses a little more active even in your own field. What I would like to actually do is have everyone, if you would, whenever you close out of this presentation, just go ahead and take a few minutes and reflect on what we talked about and see if that, you know, think of ways that you can actually pull this stuff into your courses and make them even more robust and interactive online, creating that big picture of the community of inquiry. If you would, whenever, for the online students, you don't have to write anything about this. Just go ahead and just think about it, what exactly it is that you would like to bring to maybe your courses. And if any of you guys have any questions, I'd be glad to ask or answer them. If not, the online students, if you would, just send me your missed class summary by Saturday, and then I look forward to seeing you all in the 3rd class and final workshop. Here are the references that I used for the course. Thank you and have a good evening.